The truth! You can't handle the truth!
3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, you! Yeah, you! Come here for a minute. I want to talk to you. Mama says you're brain dead.
Bang your head against the wall.
Can't find peace of mind.
Brain needs an overhaul.
Bonehead, brain dead, we're all the same. You can't think straight.
Yep.
Heart is in pain.
Turn around, hit the ground. Time to lay your burden down.
The views expressed on this broadcast of the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show are those of the co-host and guests.
That's
and
right.
do not necessarily reflect those of our affiliates. The topics and opinions on today's show should not be considered as medical, psychological, or professional advice. Take 12 Radio is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. And now, here's your host,
The man, the myth, the legend.
the Monty Man.
I'm telling you the truth, man. I
Ain't gonna lie to you. That was weird.
good guys, bad boys.
We're all the same. Saved by grace is the name of the game.
Turn around, hit the ground.
Time to lay your burden down. Welcome to the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show. Denver is here.
Hello.
Tony is here.
Morning.
Marv is here.
Yeah, I am.
And we are all together.
That's your biggest entrance ever.
The topic this week, when it's time to leave. When it's time to leave. And that is a broad topic. Because this can be related to leaving a job, leaving a relationship, leaving a toxic 12-step support meeting that maybe isn't a meeting anymore, leaving a circle of friends. It can mean even leaving a place of worship and moving on to another one. I mean, it is a broad topic, and this is not. We're gonna be using kind of the employer kind of employment thing to kind of use it as a launch format for this show, but this can apply in just about anything to where you discover that for your own recovery, for your own sobriety, for your own sanity, it may be time to exit stage right.
You can even leave friends.
Sometimes that happens. So we're going to be talking about that. And before we do, though, just a reminder, the 6th Annual Hope Fest, His Grace is Enough for You, Saturday, October 14th from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Did I get that right? Yes, I did. At the beautiful Prescott Courthouse Plaza in Prescott, Arizona. The Monty Man will be there. Going to try and see if some other people will be there. Live music, local and national recording artists, guest speakers, free family fun zone, the Hope Serves Community Resource Fair, food vendors, and more. You can visit the website to find out all sorts of information about one of the largest recovery festivals in the country, the 6th Annual Hope Fest, by visiting hopefestaz.com. And if you see the Monty Man walking around with his portable microphone, don't hesitate to say hello.
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 Hello. So there's that there.
Howdy.
I know.
Howdy.
We got no acknowledgement on that one.
Howdy. And so we Denver and I and Marcia were up at the Southwest Washington Recovery Forum with the Southwest Recovery Coalition folks.
Excellent time.
It was an excellent time. It was amazing. So this week, later on this week, those of you who subscribe to the show, you're going to hear some of the interviews from that event. We took our portable mic up there and talked to some people. One of those groups was the Exchange Church, Exchange Recovery Program, which is in Vancouver. It's a church that meets on Saturday with about 300 recovering addicts, alcoholics, and life-controlling issue people. And we now have a link at take12radio.com. Click on Exchange Recovery, and you can go to their website and learn all about them.
Didn't we have a commercial with them on it, too?
No.
No?
Not yet. I'm thinking about putting one together, though.
I thought we did.
Yes. Let's see here. What's that there? It's National Recovery Month. And, this isn't like National Brown Dog Day or National Drop Your Pencil Day or, there's so many national days for the silliest things. But this is huge. If your recovery fellowship, if your recovery treatment program, if your recovery circles don't know that September every year is National Recovery Month, you are just out of the loop.
I didn't know that either.
Well, now you're in the loop.
Now you do.
And it's my birthday month, too.
And it's your birthday month.
Belly button birthday.
Belly button birthday. Yeah. So it's National Recovery Month. Go big or go home. That just means get involved some way, somehow. Go to a recovery event, show up, be present, and help give away what's been so freely given to you.
Amen.
Amen?
Amen.
Amen. That's good. Yes.
Stop right there.
Uh-oh.
It's time for Monty Man's Weekly Wine.
I love that baby.
Right. Okay.
Each time I love the baby.
I have to tell you that when you're
The
on...
baby felt like this.
We have emojis in the studio, and they're pillows, emoji pillows, and Tony just picked up the grumpy face one.
I'm going to have fun with these all through the show.
We have grumpy face, happy face, what's that weird, discombobulated face?
The one with glasses.
The smart face.
Yeah, and then we have poop head.
I did
Okay.
discombobulated.
Very happy.
So the happy face, though, somebody pointed out to me when I was doing counseling that the happy face's eyes were brown. No, we'll just leave
Because you're
that.
full of poop.
Yeah. Okay, so the weekly wine. All right, when you're on the road, especially when you're several hours away from home, and you have your money planned out in your travels, right? It's very important that you are able to keep track of your funds and nobody mess with them.
It never works.
So Denver and I were on the road to go to an event, and we were we hadn't crossed over to Washington yet, had
Yeah,
we?
we're still in Oregon.
We were still in Oregon, but we were way up there, up the gorge, way up there. And we stopped at a gas station. It was called Love's.
Oh, yeah.
Love's.
I know where that's at, actually.
Very odd name for what happened to me.
Lovely signs, though.
Yeah, lovely signs. Love's truck stop or whatever it is. And so I put $26 worth of gas in my little Kia Soul, right? And then I looked on, and I ran my debit card. And then I looked on my phone, the app, because I always check it.
Yeah. So do
Right?
I.
They took out $125.
That's quite the tip.
I'm like,
Jesus.
What? And so I talked to the lady. She goes, "Oh yeah, you ran it as a debit, so we put $125 hold."
Are you serious?
I said, "What are you talking about? That has never happened to me before." Now,
Is that even legal?
I've seen a dollar hold
Yeah.
before. So I went inside and I talked to the manager, and he goes, "Oh yeah, that's the way that is, and it won't be released for another 72 hours or whatever."
Shut up.
I said, "No. I got $26 worth of gas. You are not holding my card. I'm out of state. I'm going to be out of state. I'm going up to Washington. I'm traveling. I'm hundreds of miles away. No,
like, give me
there's
my
no way."
refund.
And so he went back into this little room and disappeared for about 15 minutes.
The love room.
Yeah, and he told me, he swore up and down there was not a thing they could do about
Well,
it.
of course there is.
And I was ticked. And so, it's amazing if you really are demanding how they can do something about
yeah.
it.
They're just lazy.
And within
It's a
20
truck
minutes
stop.
on my app on my phone, bing, it was back. So listen, don't put up with that stuff. If they pull something like that on you, and then I found out from a lady later at a restaurant, they do that kind of stuff. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because you're so far away from your home and they want to put a hold on it. I don't know what the deal is. But have you guys ever experienced that? Marv, you ever had something like that happen to you? You don't even have a credit card.
Yeah. I pay cash.
He just has a horse. We're going to put a hold on your horse.
I've had that done at like a hotel one time. They did like a $96 hold, like the price of the room.
Yeah, now that makes sense because you
Yeah.
haven't checked out yet and all that stuff. But you're getting $26 worth of gas.
And not 120 something. That's ridiculous.
No.
I see scam written all over that one. Truck stops are like mean though.
That's weird. That's just very weird.
It was a moment.
It was a moment.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah,
I
it
would
was a
actually
moment.
wanted to be a fly on that
Was
wall.
that
Oh, I just
was
missed
that
myself
a
outside.
You're like, I'll be
was
outside
that
the
on a
window.
credit card or a debit?
It was on
Find a
debit.
Brenda.
debit.
Yeah, they told me if I had run it as a credit, that wouldn't have happened. And I'm like, I didn't run it. Your lady ran it. So that's on her.
That's shady.
Very shady.
Well, there should have at least been signage outside that said, we're going to tap your funds for a while.
Right.
Yeah, but see, Oregon, you don't pump your own gas, so you wouldn't have saw the sign. So she tapped his funds for.
Oh, there was a tapping.
There was a tapping.
Well, I
that's,
didn't-
that's
yeah.
for sure. There was a tapping. All right, enough for the weekly wine. Back to the grind. It's just some fun stuff. As people head back to school or back to work after summer vacay, let's look at some other stuff we grind and why.
I love those things.
Here's one: an axe. An axe. Ever heard of? I got an axe to grind.
No.
Like many idioms, having an axe to grind was an actual act. In this case, the literal grinding, i.e. sharpening of an axe, this was done with a grindstone, a round rotating stone disc used to hone the edge of iron tools. If you've ever had someone go on and on about a pet peeve, which we're going to do here in a minute, until your patience is worn down to a sliver, you'll know exactly how those axes felt. So that's having an axe to grind. Here's one: your gears. Grinding your gears. Grinding gears, for those people who still drive stick, is what happens when you mess up the timing while changing gears. In simple terms, this causes the adjacent gears to meet while running in slightly different speeds, so they're literally grind against each other for a moment before popping into place. Surprise! It's not good for your transmission.
I never said it was good.
My left eye is watering.
You're half sad.
I'm half sad. Oh, okay. Actually, I'm in a better mood than I've been in a long time.
You're this emoji now.
I'm that emoji. Grinding your teeth. Ever do that?
James says that in his sleep and it drives me nuts.
Bruxism, the medical term for teeth grinding, has been steadily on the rise for the last few years. That's because it's a common symptom of stress. Which is something most of us can relate to these days. According to the Chicago Dental Society, the year 2010, the height of the U.S. financial crisis, saw a 65% increase in teeth grinding. Who records these things?
I want on that
The
board.
Association of Teeth Grinders.
The Association of Teeth Grinders.
The Dental Association.
That's right. That's right. In the club.
Oh,
grinding
no.
in
Don't
the
go
club.
there. Don't go there. Don't.
Oh, Lord. Why does everybody look at me when he says that?
I don't know.
Interesting.
I'm scared of
It
this.
just seemed natural.
Now, see, that went right over my head. I don't.
Well, we're going to inform you here.
Okay.
Grinding as a dance has its roots in whining, winning, and dejucking. A hip-thrusting dance move central to some Caribbean cultures, but it was
See, I'm keeping up with the culture.
the move's adoption by hip-hop culture that brought it to mainstream America in the 80s and 90s, where it's been the bane of high school proms ever since.
You couldn't touch a high school prom in my prom.
Yeah.
Grinding.
That's a no-no.
And
You
the
could
last...
slow dancing, but fast dancing, not so much. I'd be like,
No.
No.
Yeah. And the last one, on a skateboard. Grinding on a skateboard. The Guinness Book of World Records states that the longest 50-50 grind ever, where the skateboard is facing forward with its wheels hanging either side of a curb or rail, was performed by Jagger Ayton, who managed to go 204 feet. That's a long way. But according to a blog post by Grind TV, this record may have been broken in March this year by Luis de los Reyes, who went an astonishing 292 feet, about the same as 5 subway cars. Wow.
you got to get a quick start on that.
Grinding.
certainly makes a difference in my day.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. Carry that little nugget.
Lord.
Yeah. So, there you go. That's it there.
Thank
All right. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away.
Turn around, hit the ground, time to lay a burden down.
You can do all things through Christ. He gives you strength. He gives you courage. So lift your eyes to the hope.
This is my fight song. Take back my life song.
Embrace the change.
Song.
Feel the freedom. Recover your identity. Now is the time. This is the place. This is your fight song. This is Celebrate Recovery. To locate a Celebrate Recovery fellowship in your area, visit celebraterecovery.com.
Hello, this is Dr. Alan Berger, author of 12 Stupid Things That Mess Up Recovery. You're listening to Take12Radio.com, featuring recovery talk and positive music.
Working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living. Barely getting by. It's all taking and no giving.
All right, it's time for Take 12 Trivia, and we're going to share some of the things the best employers in the world actually say to their employees that they value. Brought to you by the 12-Step Gazette, award-winning recovery magazine. Visit their website at 12stepgazette.com. Now here's the Monty Man.
All right, so no guessing, no fluff machine this week, no awards this week. Just some interesting things that the best bosses, the best employers, actually say and verbalize to their employees. Great bosses think about what their body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice communicate to their staff. And they often take the time to say things face to face rather than through email in order to build trust, develop relationships, manage conflict, and inspire employees. But with the technical age as it is, everybody's doing email, everybody's doing texting, right? More and more employers aren't even talking to their people. They're just doing that. But good employers talk to you face to face.
Oh, yeah. Mine
here's some of the positive things. Good morning. A simple good morning. How's that? How about saying good morning to your boss and he actually responds? Wouldn't that be nice? Touching base in the morning or at the start of any shift is a small thing, but employees notice when you don't. Amen to that. It shows you're truly present and taking the time to connect at a personal level. Here's one. How are you? How are you? This simple human question puts employees at ease and reminds them that they're more than a number in a company. But in reality, it's not asked as often as you think. Good bosses treat their team as people and win their support as a result. On occasion, we'll say, how are you doing? Here's one. Great job. Right? Everybody likes to hear that. Praise and recognition at any level in an organization is always welcome. We're all human beings with basic needs to be appreciated, but it can also be overused and lose its meaning.
Yeah.
Right? So use this phrase sparingly. The next one, yes or sure. Let's try that. Being positive and giving the green light to employees allows them to grow. That can lead to mistakes, but without risks, the company and team remains stagnant. Here's one that you very seldom hear in any workplace from your employer. That was my mistake. Right? Admitting fault is something that experienced bosses do. They don't pass the buck, and therefore they set the example for others. By doing so, they also create a safe environment for their teams to take calculated risks. That's how people learn. Here's a really good one. Thank you. Thank you. One of the top reasons employees leave a company is because they don't feel appreciated. Workplaces where bosses do a better job of consistently showing gratitude towards employees have lower absenteeism, lower turnover rates, better customer service scores, and higher productivity. Great bosses get in the habit of consistently passing along positive praise in a timely, sincere, and positive manner. Here's one. Can you please? Common courtesy is so simple, yet often overlooked in business. Smart bosses don't bark out orders.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You've had orders barked out at you, Tony?
By one of our old jams, she was very good at that.
Really?
That's her only
Yeah.
way of communicating. Only way.
Here's one of my favorite ones. How can I be of greater support to you? You know, you kind of like, you know, if you haven't done something that maybe you should have done, maybe an employer would be more effective if they said, how can I help you get that done?
Mm.
Is there something that I can do to contribute to you getting that completed? Have you been properly trained in that? What can I do? Because sometimes that gets missed. This is probably one of the most powerful things a boss can get into the habit of asking on a regular basis. It demonstrates concern and compassion for the employee, and it proves you understand that the real job of a boss is to support and provide a service to his or her people. That's their real job.
Mm-hmm.
Here's one. Here's an example. Sometimes projects can be overwhelming and not fully understood. Savvy managers give examples to better explain projects or perspectives. They also anticipate potential outcomes with their staff. This one is one I had a boss in retail years ago that used to ask this all the time. It was really appreciated. What's on your plate right now?
I have one that does that too.
Do you?
Yeah.
As a boss, it's important to check in on the status of your employees' projects and get an idea of their current workload before doling out additional work. You never want to put too much on their plate. There's a whole bunch more. One here is, what do you think? What do you think? Another powerful question that should be asked on a daily basis is almost every conversation with an employee. It's one of the simplest ways to recognize employees, as it sends the message that you value their input. How can we best solve this? Or how can we do this better?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than remaining punitive with a team member, good bosses help their team evaluate situations that go awry. They make their team aware that we're in this together.
Mm-hmm.
These great bosses realize that the more they share knowledge and train the team, the more productive and successful the company. And here's one I never thought of before, but it really, this is really good. How are your kids or your dog or your parents? Without crossing any lines, it's important to get to know your employees and acknowledge their lives outside of work. Learn your employees' spouses and children's names if they have a family. And if you know they have an ill parent, they just got a new dog or started taking a photography class, ask how things are going. It builds a caring, compassionate workplace, and it builds trust.
See,
why are you laughing?
That you asked that question. My dog died 3 years ago.
Actually, my dog did die 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
There's a whole bunch more. How are things going? Are you being challenged? Keep me in the loop. Tell me about how your day or week is going. What are your dreams and goals?
Mm-hmm.
A good boss will ask you that on occasion. What are your dreams? What are your goals? That kind of thing. So I have had employers that not only did not know my wife's name, they didn't know anything. Maybe I called in sick, and when I came back, they never said, how are you feeling? Are you doing better?
Yeah.
Not a word. Not a word. I've had employers I've said good morning to every morning and not even acknowledge that I'm standing there. That does not do well for developing a good, healthy team. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't. So these are just some of the cool things that good bosses say. If you are an employer and you're a leader and you're not doing these, maybe consider it. You might build a better team if you do that.
Well,
right?
the thing when I was going through with Nevaeh, my management,
your dog?
yeah,
the
dog. Sorry, my management always asked every morning, "How are you doing? What's going on? What's the updated status?" So I'm very appreciative of that. It showed it like on a more personal level,
right?
So that does help a lot.
What do you think, Marv?
I think somebody's in a fantasy world. The kind of jobs I've worked all my life, that kind of stuff
doesn't happen, right?
Doesn't go on.
Yeah.
And if it did, you'd be suspicious.
Ooh.
Oh, what do you want? What's really happening?
The mystery.
So when you were reading all that stuff, oh, Jamie, Christmas.
So your take on it is that if you expect your boss to be a good boss, you're probably living in a fantasy land.
Well, no, it's not that so much as if you expect your boss to be Mother Teresa.
Right.
You're probably.
But
living
do you have
in
to
a
be Mother
fantasy.
Teresa to just say good morning when somebody says good morning to you?
Well, personally, for me,
Yeah.
a lot of times I don't want anybody to say anything to me.
Well, then maybe you shouldn't be an employer.
Horses don't talk.
When you have a staff of 5, 6, 10, 12 people or whatever, and you don't want to engage them, you lock yourself in your office, you turn your back on them, that kind of thing, when they're trying to speak to you.
See, you're talking about a whole different scenario, a whole different job scenario. I'm talking about jobs in mills, sawmills,
okay.
rare metals, whatever. And
So it depends on what the job is.
You've got a union there.
Right.
That sounds
And so there's
dangerous.
always this, and I never did like it, really.
Yeah.
I didn't care for it, but there's always this kind of, animosity.
Underlining, when you get union and management and employees. And,
so that kind of thing you're talking about, it was rare as hen's teeth.
Rare as hen's teeth.
Yes, for
Another
foreman,
cowboy saying. I like
for a foreman to
Hang on to that one.
to be Mr. Good Guy.
Yeah.
I didn't know hens made tea.
Yeah.
Do they?
No.
Oh,
It's rare. It's rare.
It's very rare.
it's like, oh no, there's tea for everything else. I didn't know hens made tea.
Oh, my goodness sake. All right. There's,
So it's not a real thing? No?
What?
Working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living. Getting by.
All right, that does it for a little trivia there on what good bosses may be saying. All right, the topic, when it's time to leave. So this can be applied in any situation. Tony, you had to leave a relationship not long ago.
Yeah,
Because it became toxic, true?
true.
Yeah. So
That
how
was
long
just-
did you put up with abusive speech and just
mental
mental before you actually said enough is enough?
And to be fair, I have to say, in the beginning, he was there for a reason. He did, Walter did, and I've let James know that too. But after me getting sober and him staying in the mindset of the weed and everything like that, he would just like he would say, I was born to smoke dope the rest of my life. So I've tried counseling with him, which that never went well. That was like 1 or 2 sessions. I've tried all these things, working steps over and over again with my sponsor, trying to work things out with him and talk to him. And I did that for 9 years.
So would you say that your sobriety was put at risk because of the marijuana and that was going on?
Oh, definitely. And
all
that's
that
why I
stuff?
was always gone from the house and because at meetings and stuff like that, because I couldn't be around that all the time. It was mentally bad for me. I was doing a lot more service work than I am now.
Yeah.
But now I feel safer at home, but now I have to get my butt out of the house because I like being at home.
Right. Right. Yeah, Marv, have you ever had to walk away from a situation because it was unhealthy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Feel like sharing?
The silent cowboy.
Well, actually, I walked away from a job on a ranch. That was back in the late 80s. I was hired as a manager, and the bosses were very well off Californian people. And the husband and wife did not communicate, so I would get orders from either the husband or the wife, and then they'd cancel each other out, and I was standing there, didn't know what to do.
Right.
And this went on, and finally I couldn't take it anymore, so I quit.
Yeah. Yeah. How was that received by them? Did they even care?
The woman, the wife, yeah, she started crying.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Denver, how about you? Have you ever had to walk away from an unhealthy situation and just leave?
In all fairness, I have to say some people's walked away from me.
That's true.
With that little disclaimer being
Yeah.
said, relationships, there's been an employer I actually walked away with.
Right.
Because it was just a totally unfair job situation. And we can take that for a while, but seriously, there does come a point where the curtain has to drop and you walk away and you go, I can't do this any longer. And,
Sure.
and with trying to practice recovery in my life, there's been times I've had to walk away from so-called friends, people that I were tight with, and I went to them and said, I can't be around you. I just can't be right now.
Yeah.
I got to go. So,
Right.
yeah, at 57, I've had plenty of opportunity to see this transpire in my life.
Sure. There are people that have had to walk away even from their 12-step fellowship
Yeah.
because the meeting was no longer a meeting. It was a toxic environment. I think when that happens, I think it's wise before you do to plug into another one. When it comes to like AA meetings and NA meetings and Celebrate Recovery meetings and all the plethora of different 12-step meetings that there are out there are so many that there's no reason not to be able to plug into somewhere else. But that can happen too. That can happen. I think you do your best to do your best, and when you can't do that anymore, it may be time to leave. There have been times our family had to walk away from a place of worship because it wasn't a place of worship anymore. It became extremely toxic to everybody in the congregation, and nobody was doing anything about it. And our son was a minor, and we weren't going to subject him to that. Sometimes that happens. And so it's a hard thing when it happens. Sometimes you have to leave a situation abruptly for the sake of your sobriety, your sanity, and your recovery. And that is really hard. You can't always, the ideal thing is to be able to give 30 days notice, 2 weeks notice, that kind of thing, if it's an employer, or to let people know, like a friend, I'm sorry, but I love you, but I can't be around you. But so you take them to coffee and you explain the situation. But sometimes it is so bad, and if you know yourself well enough and your own recovery and the importance of it, you may have to leave abruptly.
Yeah.
And that's just the way that is. There's nothing worth losing your sobriety or losing your sanity and your recovery boundaries.
Amen.
Nothing worth that. They're not going to lose any sleep over it. Really, they're not.
Yeah.
So here is 3. Now this can be applied to any situation, not just employer-employee. But this isn't a complete list, but the following types of behavior are 3 main indicators that your employer is abusive. And here's number 1. Demeaning behavior. Now remember, this can come from a friend. This can come from a pastor. This can come from your employer. Demeaning behavior. It's uncalled for in any way, shape, or form to excuse the belittling or humiliating of another human being. Your boss, your friend, your pastor, your 12-step general service rep, any of those things, has no right to yell at you in front of others, to raise your voice or be harsh in any way, shape, or form, ever. Or even behind closed doors. Being harsh or yelling should never be tolerated. Talking to you disrespectfully and verbally trying to undermine your confidence should also be strictly prohibited. You have a right to stand up for yourself. Whether your boss, your friend, your pastor, your 12-step leader is in a bad mood or not, doesn't really matter. And it doesn't matter what they think you might have done. There is no excuse for harsh behavior. Those who take pleasure out of making others feel degraded do so to achieve a sense of empowerment or superiority. This often stems from deep-rooted insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
Once this behavior starts, it only gets worse. It never gets better. And be alert for your boss or your friend, whoever this is, demeaning other people who aren't present. It's a bad sign if they're constantly bad-mouthing your coworkers, your friends, church members, employees. When they talk to you, saying old employees or friends were constantly making stupid mistakes, spent too much time doing personal things, blah, 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 blah. Of course, the boss's complaints could have some element of truth, right? We're not perfect employees. We're not perfect friends. Not all employees are focused and honest. However, if your boss, in the case of employment, claims that they had all these bad work habits and no good qualities, it's likely you have a boss who brings out the worst in their employees.
Mm-hmm.
So that's demeaning behavior. Isolating behavior. Setting policies and procedures in place and making sure they're followed through is one thing. Trying to control you personally in the workplace and cut you off from your support is quite another. Isolation is the most dangerous controlling tactic an abusive employer can use because it cuts you off from any support. The feeling of isolation is the most painful experience a person can go through. Some controlling and isolating behaviors to watch out for are wanting to know what you do every second of the day, monitoring who you speak to, showing displeasure when you speak to others or certain people at work. It's especially alarming when they don't want you to talk to family or friends when you're at work, even at lunch or when you're on your break.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not the same as doing, if you're doing personal stuff on company time, that's wrong. That you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
And they have every right to call you on that. But if you're on your break or if you're on your lunch hour, and this goes for ministry too. I mean, I've seen this in ministries, in offices, in churches. So-and-so goes to lunch. They want to know, who'd you go to lunch with?
Mm-hmm.
This is a wide topic. This is a wide arena. Untrusting behavior is the third one. If these people always act as though you can't be trusted, this is often a sign that they're untrustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
They may have some reason to withhold their trust. Perhaps they were burned by a previous friend, pastor, employee who was untrustworthy, or they have a manager or supervisor above them who doesn't trust them, and they pass this attitude on to you. Boy, does that ever happen, where it rolls downhill. Mm-hmm. They're being treated disrespectfully. They're being treated unkindly, and so their bad mood rubs off onto you or gets passed on to you. That happens a lot. But if they consistently act like you are deceitful, it may be that they are deceitful.
Sad part is I know, and I won't say who it is, they work for the corporation still, who's a little bit of all of those. And now I feel sad for her.
Right.
Oh, them.
Yeah. Her, them, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, and here's one, too. Don't forget female-to-female abuse. Right? Abuse crosses genders. Abuse crosses genders and can be exhibited by and directed at both males and females. Male bosses may abuse both male and female employees, and female bosses can be just as abusive as men.
Mm-hmm.
Queen bee.
Ding, ding,
Queen
ding.
bee syndrome.
Uh-huh.
Queen bee syndrome.
Or king bee.
So if this is happening to you in a situation and you have gone to the person and you've tried to discuss it with them and they're not changing their behavior and they're continuing to be treat you untrustworthy, isolating or demeaning, it may be time to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Denver, your thoughts?
Wow. It's like you said, it's a broad spectrum of topic here where you can go. Employer-wise, I've worked for a lot of family-owned businesses or smaller groups.
Right.
So basically, it's been pretty smooth in that area for me. There was one employer, and I won't even get into that because it's long since over.
Right.
But relationship-wise, yeah, I've had to get away from toxic. I'm in recovery now, 2 years of good time. And I can't say for the past years before that because, like I said, people's walked away. But now there's a lot of things I'll let roll off my back, and it's not worth the fight. You want to be happy, or you want to be right. I want to be happy. Sometimes you put up with these things because we're all human and we have these glitches and itches in our life. So
glitches and itches.
You put up with a lot of things.
Cowboy poetry.
Cowboy poetry, yes.
Yeah, bed bugs. I don't know, something that's bothering you.
Bed bugs, yeah.
So, I have learned to put up with a lot. But there comes a time when, and I haven't had to practice this out in mainstream right now because I've been involved with Teen Challenge, and it's my home. It's kind of where I hang a lot. But there comes a time that you have to get away if it's jeopardizing your health.
Yes.
It's the first one I think of. I am finally, by what the doctor's standards say, healthy. I'm working on the mental part of it.
Are
now.
you?
Yes.
Are you really?
Yes. And so, if it's affecting your health, you really just got to say enough is enough. I've got to give this up, and I've got to leave. And it's hard. If you're used to a relationship, you've been with somebody, you somewhat trust them, even though they hurt you. You're comfortable around them, and yet there just is going to come a time, if you're taking care of yourself, that you're going to have to walk away from this.
Yeah,
sad, and it's a heartbreaking thing. I dearly love one of my ex-wives, and married her twice, and got together with her after not seeing her for 20 years, and her and I still don't click, and we're toxic together.
Sure.
So just like, farewell, man. I ain't gonna marry you a third time.
It's not a choice.
I don't think she wanted me anyways.
Hey, Marv, have you ever had a horse walk away from you?
or kick you?
Remember what I said a while back? A horse will never lie to you. So.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But what I was thinking about, Monty, is in our culture today, where, and maybe not right this moment, but let's go back a couple of years, where people couldn't get a job, and then they get one, and then how were they being treated then?
Right.
And what did they think about it? Because, oh, geez, I finally got a job. I can feed my wife and my kids, and the boss comes out and gets on your case, and, oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, you bet.
Because you're wanting to keep that job.
Yeah.
And
so do you lose your sanity, or do you lose your income?
Well, I don't know.
Right. That's the question. Especially the only person can answer themselves. Yeah.
I know a lot of the last job I had, I was there 36 years.
Wow.
And I've got to admit, there was a whole lot about it I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a wife and kids.
Right.
And they had to be taken care of.
And you weren't at retirement age, right?
And I wasn't retired or at that age. So I put up
probably with a lot more than you should have had to, but you did.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people do that.
Sure they do.
Yeah. You have to.
So I don't know. I really, going back to what you read again, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying.
But wouldn't it be nice, right?
Yeah.
It's really the ideal, not the real.
Yeah.
Right.
I know the situation that most of my working life, it just wasn't happening.
Wasn't like
way.
that.
No. Not at all.
It is rare to find an employer, or even coworkers, for that matter, that fit that bill.
Yeah.
Of being complimentary, of being asking how you're doing, not being shaming and that kind of thing. It does happen. Mm-hmm. And by golly, if you find that job, don't let go of that one.
See, that's why I'm glad I went down and talked to Miss Carol before I went to the actual store earlier today.
So let's talk about that for a minute. So you, for a moment, had to leave your job.
Yeah, over the weekend.
Because of health reasons.
Yeah, I've been dealing with my sugar levels. They've been from 73 to 200.
Right.
The last few weeks. And, long story short, testing's not back in yet. I don't have a regimen. So I thought I'd put in my 2 weeks, but last week had a bad attack, had to call in the last couple of days after that. And I was like worrying myself to words. I was throwing myself into attacks because I didn't want them thinking I was just giving up. So I went down to the main office today and talked to Carol, and she's such an amazing woman. I love her so much. And she's like, well, let's try adjusting your hours where it's not too long of a shift, but not too early and not too late. Say what'd she say, like a 9 to 1.
Sure.
Let's do that so you don't have to throw away. Because she's taught the crossroad that I was at. Do I quit now, or do I further my health situation and try to last the 2 weeks? So she saw the crossroad.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about her. She's very down to earth. And she's like, throw it by, your GM. And I did. And she's like, no, let's try that. That way, if something else happens further into my 2 weeks and I have to collect an employment, then she'll be like, yeah, she tried everything she could. So
Yeah.
it was a very emotional situation.
Sure it was.
It was nice to know that they appreciated me that much. She's like, we named it a club after you. Why don't we want you here, Yeah. So it was nice to see that appreciation. And I'm glad I went to the office first instead of the store and made a rash decision without knowing the options.
So if you were an employer...
But it was still very sad. It was hard.
If you were an employer and somebody left your place of business abruptly and poof, they were gone, would you not pick up the phone immediately and try to figure out what happened? Would you not say, hey man, can we talk about this? Or what, are you okay? Or would you not say something?
Carol actually was seeing a pattern. She's like, that's just not you. I was actually going to call you anyways. So she goes, I was going to call you later today anyways and talk about it. So
yeah.
Yeah.
If you were an employer, would you not do that, Marv? If somebody, it just vanished on you like that, wouldn't you say, hey buddy, what's going on?
I don't know.
Yeah. What about you, Never? What do you think?
Yeah, that depends on if they took the printer or not.
They took the printer.
I mean, they've been so good to me and gave me so many, incredible opportunities. I had to go down and talk to her face to face. I have the most utmost respect for them down at the office for what they've done for me. So I'm like, I have to be the bigger person and go throw myself in the principal's office.
Man, I would be wondering what the heck happened. Mm-hmm. I'd be concerned for them. I would. Yeah. What is going on?
If they're a good employee.
If they're a good employee.
Yeah.
If they're a good employee, yeah.
I've worked for family businesses, like I said, some of them, and they always are concerned. And they're concerned. One of my employers is extremely concerned about my health. They knew I was drinking.
Yeah.
And it was just it was a good thing. They were always concerned about me. And then one of the family owned got sold to a corporation, and things changed. Corporation, the stuff rolls downhill. Mm-hmm. They're crunching numbers.
Sure.
From the top side, and then the middleman, which would be my boss, gets his hind end chewed on, and it comes downhill from there. The closeness is lost. In a bigger corporation.
And our franchise is family owned, so
yeah, see,
it helps a lot.
Do they own both the Freeway one and the one
and Independence in Dallas?
Okay,
yeah,
so 4.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have a couple new ones on the works, but they're still family owned.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And working in the fast food industry has got to be one of the most thankless, stressful jobs you could ever have. I managed 2 Taco Bells in Oakland, California.
Yeah.
You work at the Golden Arches, and
I'm still queen.
And you're still queen of the Golden Arches.
I'm kidding. That was a little cocky there.
A sandwich named after
No.
Monty, I don't know how this fits in, but I think one thing people need to look at. I had an experience about 4 years ago where I got in a terrible bind. Mm-hmm. I was over in Eastern Oregon. My truck had broke. I got sick, ended up in the hospital. So here's my point. I was frantically trying to tell this doctor, hey, I've got to get out of here and get back because there's nobody there looking after my horse or my dog.
Right.
And I was stressed anyway. And finally, he got tired of hearing of it, and he came in and he shook his finger at me, and he said, "Listen," he said, "I'm your doctor. I'm not your friend." And I wonder how many employers look at it that way, you know.
I'm your employer, not your buddy.
Yeah. I'm not. You're not my friend. You work for me, and you need to help me.
And that's
make
okay, right?
money.
That's not inappropriate? I don't think.
But with that kind of attitude, which, yeah, I'm not sure to tell you the truth,
Yeah.
but they're not going to be any more personal.
They're
than
not going to
that.
ask how your family is or any of
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But I don't think you have to be somebody's buddy to actually engage them by simply saying good morning when they say good morning to you. I don't get that.
It should actually be part of the job description.
Right.
I believe, if you're a good manager.
Getting along
yeah.
well with others.
Yeah.
And my
if you're-
GM's amazing. I love
If
her.
you're building a team, you need to coax this team along. Coach them, not coax. But
I remember getting an email from an employer that said, unless it's about money, I don't want to talk to you about it.
Oh,
I remember getting an email like that, and I thought, wow, that just spoke volumes to me. You know, and that person had other people to deal with other areas in the job and so forth, so they were delegating anything else other than money to those people. But I don't know. I think there's common courtesies, and you don't have to like your employee, but if they're a good employee and they work really hard on making you look good, maybe you ought to be in their corner.
yeah. And when I went to the store, there were a lot of people who were relieved that I didn't have to go. So seeing that reaction, it was nice.
Yeah. So here's the thing: if you are being mistreated by a friend, it's okay to say, "Hey, friend, that's not okay to speak to me like that. That doesn't work for me." Or maybe you want to say, "Hey, are we okay? Is there something I'm doing?" You know, I've done that. I've gone to an employer and said, "Is there something I'm doing? Can you let me know?" "Oh, no, you're fine." And then turn around the next minute and be talked to harshly. It's okay to say, these are the boundaries that I have. Employers have to have boundaries. Employees do too. When you're going for a job interview, you're interviewing your prospective employer just as much as they're interviewing you. You know, and there's certain boundaries. If it's friendship, if it's a volunteer position in a church, just because you're a volunteer doesn't mean that you should be treated, you know, less than an employee. It is good to set boundaries. You have to learn how to stand up for yourself. Make a stand. And if you're able to, right? Because we were talking about people that had jobs and you can't leave. You got to support your family and that kind of thing. It's sad that you would have to put up with such behavior, but you may not be able to. You may be stuck, and that's a hard place to be. You know, but if you're able to move out of that situation into a new one, it may be the healthiest thing you do for yourself.
Yeah.
And if you don't take care of yourself, you don't take a stand, then your recovery could be at risk. We're talking about people in recovery. Huh?
It's thin ice.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, be honest with you and others, especially with yourself, on
Right.
what you can do, handle or not handle, I think.
Right. And it is hard. It is one of the most
Oh,
painful
yeah.
things you'll ever go through, to have to abruptly leave a situation, a friendship, a church, an employer, whatever. But if you're not out of there, you end up, you know yourself well enough that you're going to drink again, or you're going to do something worse,
Or have a heart attack.
or have a stroke, have, stress. You know, I've been in a position where I felt the cortisol rising so hard I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't like breathe and calm down. I thought, you know what? I need to remove myself from this toxic situation before I have a stroke. And if that's you, you got to make a stand and do that. Nothing is worth your health. Nothing is worth losing your sobriety over.
Be honest with yourself.
Yeah, be honest with
Yeah,
yourself.
I think one of the hardest areas it has been for me, and maybe I'm telling on myself, but
Honesty.
one of the hardest areas for me has to do with matters of the heart, relationships. and how your brain. Denver said something earlier, I think before the show, about he's working on his brain, working on his thinking. But when it comes to relationships and knowing boundaries and knowing when to walk away, and your mind and your past experiences involved, and plus you care deeply for the other person. That to me would be harder than just about anything.
You bet. You bet.
And it can be like that with an employer, too. I think that's a very good point, because I was so emotional because I do love them so much.
Well, and you can become friends with your employer sometimes, and your employer become friends with you.
I mean, that doesn't show they're showing me favoritism. I'm not saying that. I'm going to put that out there. But, they've done so much for me that it was hard to say, hey, here's my crossroad. What can I do, or do I have to do or not do, or I didn't even know there are options out there.
Sure.
So, I was sweating bullets, though, on the way to the office. I won't lie.
All right. So, this is National Recovery Month. Go big or go home. Get involved. Do something. Go to a recovery event. Have a good time. Treat yourself well. Mm-hmm. Take care of yourself. If you need to make a stand, make a stand. Our closing song this week is by Freebo, and it's simply called Stand. Stane.
I've heard this one before.
Violence, blow 'em all away long distance. Make sure it's far
Well, that does it for another show. Listen, just like the song says, stand up. If you feel that you are being abused, mistreated, or disrespected, you don't have to put up with that. Let the people that are doing that to you know that it's not okay. And if they won't listen, maybe it's time to leave. Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man, and we are wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye now.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Cause she's a super cat, she's super kitty, meow.
Here, kitty, 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 kitty. Meow.